Today, we're going to talk about the 10 new cards that were added to the game in the last variety update, the balance patch that came with it. We're going to compare this Eternal meta to the last one from 3 months ago. And lastly, we're going to talk about some bugs, cosmetics, and looking ahead using the calendar on the LORreport.com. I'm Snnuy, and as always, I'm here with Marshall from the LOR Report. How are you doing, Marshall?
I'm doing okay. I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold, so if I mute throughout this podcast, I'm probably coughing my guts up. But apart from that, I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing alright. I'm not coming down with a cold, but if I end up muting myself during this podcast, it's because I'm puking at some of the meta developments that we've seen in the last week. But we both got our own thing going on. But let's just jump right into it. God, I really nailed that intro this time. Last time I had to redo it like twice because I was just my head wasn't all there. But let's start.
You should have included the last one. You should have included the last one. Yeah,
just like a blooper reel at the end or something where I say like, I don't know, we're gonna look at 10 new Mr. Thrifts instead of new cards because my head was just full of him. Okay, so the new cards that were added, the 10 cards that we get every 3 weeks, every 3 months for the variety update, one for every region. I say we take the most wholesome one to start off with. Trusty Ednir. Beautiful story. I really implore everyone to check it out on the Play Runeterra website. We'll have it in the description below. This was Death for a Day with Rusticles. Rusticle suffers from ALS. So the Runeterra team took Rusticles, who is a competitive player, under their wing for, I don't know how long, a couple of months, and they designed a card together, and this was the beautiful end result of it. I played with it today, and I gotta say, in a Lulu Tarek deck, I'm a huge fan. I had a giant Choo-Choo support train, and I was just loving every moment of it. And this card is like a great inclusion for that. It felt really good, but aside from that, in Standard particularly, I don't see it. In Eternal though, great card. Yeah,
so I've like you said, I love this card. I love everything that the team did for the design, for why it was created. Absolutely perfect. I haven't yet played this card. I did think that this card was going to be mainly used in a bit of an aggro deck kind of thing, where you just go wide and beat your opponent down. But I do think that this card is definitely going to see some play. There'll be something. Someone's a unit. That unit then grows to its stats. There's going to be something where this card will eventually see like a big place to shine. And I'm glad that you said that you found one with was it Lulu Tarek, did you say?
Yeah,
today?
Lulu Tarek. Also, I just realized, again, we're going to set this straight right now for the audio listeners. Trusty Ednir is a 4-mana 3/3 from Ionia that summons a 1-mana 1/1 that says support, grow me to my supported ally stats. So baseline, this 1/1 is going to attack with Trusty Ednir to the right, becomes a 3/3 as well for 1 turn, but the potential is obviously much higher. Like I just said in that Tarek deck, Tarek is pretty often going to be like, I don't know, an 8/9 or something, and then Ednir's Aviarist is going to be an 8/9 as well. And in that deck specifically, you really want like this balance of supporting units and units that want to be supported. Now, a 3/3 is not necessarily like, it's fine enough stats. It's not necessarily something like an Ibex or a Flower Child that both get effects when they get supported, but just getting a support unit for the deck and then a 3/3 that wants to be supported really like smoothens out the train, right? Because you want all support units, and at the front you want a regular unit that likes to be supported. It felt like the perfect fit for that deck. It really did. I loved it.
Yeah, honestly, I really love the support archetype. You know me, I like my Poppy Tarek.
Oh yeah.
So like, the fact that this is in Ionia is a bit of a okay, sure, it's in Ionia, but the one thing I will give Ionia is that the support archetype is very cool. I don't think it's toxic. It's a nice combo deck of, all right, I'm gonna build my units, and like you say, we build a train, and we set off and destroy the Nexus, and I do think it's cute that this little 1/1 can turn into such a monster sometimes.
Yeah, it looks cute, but it can take over the game for sure if left unchecked. Yeah, sadly, like I said, I don't really see this card doing anything in Standard right now, which is a real shame because it is an incredibly wholesome and also very fun to play card. But yeah, we'll have to see if there's anything in Standard that will actually help it. But another card that seems like a bit of a misfit in the current Standard and also the Eternal meta, I would say, is Portia the Peculiar, a 9-mana 9/9 dragon from Bandle City that says play, manifest a Titanic follower and set its stats to 1/1 and cost to 0. Have you found any success with this card? Have you played it?
I've not played this card.
Yeah,
This
okay.
card does. Do you know that meme? This card does not bring me joy. There's nothing here that. I mean, it's Bandle City #1. No one likes Bandle City, and
I mean,
I don't know. The concept of this, I think, is fine. It's 9 mana. 9 mana cards are supposed to do something. But I think the effect that it does is pretty cool. Like it's down to the RNG though. There's a I did a post on the LOR report and of like, hey, here's all the Titanic units that you can now get from was it Clash of Giants? Clash of Titans. And I was looking at it, I was like, wow, there's a lot of Titanic followers in this game now. That was specifically in standard. I think it was 33. And I just don't like the idea that this can sometimes miss. The good thing about this is sometimes you are getting the choice of one of 3. Like I haven't seen this much in games. I don't think, apart from like Legend and Visionary and yourself, I don't think there's anyone that's like, I'm playing this. This is meta defining. Like this is just a meme card.
The usual suspects, the meme deck builders, right?
But I like it. It does the job.
Yeah, what I like about this card, and I think it's important to have cards like this in the game, is that you're not like, you're not sitting down, you're not opening your deck builder, and you're like, I'm gonna build a Porsche deck. You're more like, I'm gonna build a bit of a slower Bandle City deck, or any deck that has Bandle City as a second region, and you're like, well, I might as well get like something powerful for turn 9 that always gives me a body, and then potentially gives me something insane. Like, I don't know, I've gotten Ledros from this, which feels really, that's probably one of the stronger options. Even if you have like half a board, you get a big Citria, the 10/10 that like doubles the stats, give everything Challenger, that's also really nice. Even Otacon reviving something, and if left alive, it can still grow into like, I don't know, a 20 attack Overwhelmer or something. There are definitely options, and I've just been putting this card in my, like I said, my slower Bandle City decks, where I'm just like, sometimes I get to turn 9, and sometimes I get to play this card on turn 9 and then rally out of nowhere, or, whatever. And I like it for that. It's not a build around, it's just feels nice to have sometimes. And that's basically what Howling Abyss was to me too. You might have considered that card more of a build around in a control deck or something, but I always slammed at least one of them in all my Freljord decks, because why the hell not, right? Sometimes you don't have anything going on turn 6, so you slam the Howling Abyss and you have value all game long. Porsche is more or less the same, and I gotta say, the only thing that this is missing is Fury. Aside from that, great card.
But yeah, there is the talk about that. A lot of people realize that the dragons don't actually have a Fury. None of the new ones did. And they just said it was for balance reasons. Like, you don't have to have them, which is interesting. Maybe we'll start seeing dragons with no Fury and the balanced around that, like these are. I am just double checking before I state this. I think that out of all of the units in Bandle City, this is... Oh, okay. Apart from Arsenal, this is the only other Titanic unit in Bandle City. Because when I was doing that graphic, I was doing it for specifically standard, and I was doing them in region order. And I was like, "Oh, where's the Bandle City cards?" And there wasn't any because Arsenal's not in standard. So it joins Bandle City's.
I mean, they're the rat, the hamster region. It makes sense. I was actually checking.
Like 1/1.
Exactly, yeah. Everything should just be like a small little rat that you play for 2 mana and is a 1/1. I was actually checking Buildswater, and I was really surprised that region has no cards that cost more than 8. They don't have 9, 10, or any... that's the highest they go. Yeah, you get... Yeah, it like stops at Sunk Cost, Dreadway, Riptide Rex, and the new dragon that we'll get to in a second for Buildswater as well. I was surprised. I was like, wow, this region really doesn't... I mean, it has top end, right? Because clearly, like, Dreadway is quite powerful. So it's a new sea monster, but that is really all the top end they get.
Yeah, there's some regions like that where you just don't realize stuff like that.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. Same with Bandle City, not having Titanics. Makes sense. They're small. They're rats. They don't... Oh, here it is. It's the next card. I'll give you the honor for this one to read it out.
So it's a 8 mana 8/8. It's a sea monster and it's dragon. It's from Buildwater. It's called Saphursa, Scourge of the Deep. It also has the deep keyword. When you spend mana to play another unit, create a random card in hand equal to its cost, and then set its cost to 0, and it's fleeting. So the reason why I said random card was because when this was released, I thought it was making a unit, and I was like, it's all right. And I'm like, hold on, it can get spells. And I have seen some very, very stupid stuff coming from spells from this card.
Dude, the video I uploaded with this card was ridiculous because this card on turn 10 gave me Revitalizing Roar, and I was playing Lysandra. So I used Revitalizing Roar to make my Watcher 0 mana when I had no business making that 0 mana just yet. That was a good one. That was fun.
Yeah, honestly, I played against Deep before they had this card. It's interesting in Deep because it's kind of anti-synergistic in a way. You normally want the big units from this, and Nautilus was like discounting it by like 3, or like whatever Nautilus discount is, 4, 3. So they were playing this for 4, and then they were playing all the units that were like, oh, I'm gonna get a 2 mana card for free, and I'm gonna get this for free, and I'm like, if I got a random 2 mana unit, I don't want that. I want like the big cost units for free. I want like my Revitalizing Roar. I want She Who Wanders. Like give me all the expensive stuff for free.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was playing this with Trundle's Pillar, and I feel like that was like by far the best synergy point for this card. I have not really experimented with it in Standard just yet. It was the one Eternal deck that I played with this. I low-key think that this might be playable in Standard in some kind of like Sigil deck. This is very good payoff if you're using Sigils. Like combine this with something like Bodir, and you're playing like Lysandra to just get the Watcher, because just Bodir and this is already like 4 out of 5. I know that's like, those are expensive cards, right? But I think there really is something there with enough stalling. And Freljord, with the state of the region right now, they can definitely get there. Freljord is doing some incredible stuff right now with how strong they are. And I was also like, I think Bodir was probably the strongest card that we're gonna get to later in a little bit, but I haven't seen it that much yet. But this card, I feel like, is another card you definitely want to ramp it to. Just get it as soon as possible for the value overload.
Yeah, I think that's all we need to say. For the Bodir bit, when we get up to it, I've got a reason why you've not seen it, but we'll get on to that when we get to the card.
All right, you know what, we'll go there right now, because to avoid confusion, well, the Kingfisher was kind of between it, but we'll do that one later. So 8 mana Dragon from Freljord, no Fury. When I've summoned 2 Frozen Trolls and advanced them 2/2, and it's also an 8/8. Extremely strong. I think a lot of people misread this card and thought that the Frozen Trolls only count down by 2, but it counts them down to 2. So in 2 turns, you get 2 more 8/8s with Overwhelm. This is a 24/24, where 2/3 of it is Overwhelm. This is a freaking hell of a good card.
So yeah, this card is really good, and I want to say the only reason you're not seeing this is because we're in Eternal. The meta is you don't really have time to be playing these big chunky units, even if the effects like this. I'm telling you now, this card in Standard, once everyone goes back to it, it's going to be everywhere. It's mid-range focus. The games are a little bit slower. You're going to ramp up to this on turn 6. This is going to come down, and you're going to look at it and go, okay, I've got an 8/8 I need to remove because it's just a big 8/8. You're going to kill it, and then 2 turns later, you've got 2 more 8/8s that are just like, hey, we're back. And it's like, hey, hold on. Well, what's going on here? And yeah, no, that's the only reason you're not seeing it in Eternal. I'm looking at the new cards now. I'm very happy to say that this is probably the strongest one they've released.
In this set? These 10?
In this new set, I'm quite confident to say that this one in particular is the best one. I mean, it's sad that it's another Freljord. I think we will talk about that later when we start talking about decks and stuff. But Freljord's, they had a period of time where they were known as like the worst region, and for like the past I don't know 4 patches, they've been up there. They've been chilling.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about Volibear, right? But it's not even Volibear himself that brought Freljord to the top, but some of the cards like Sky Splitter. I think Sky Splitter in particular, on top of like some of the weapon masters that were already in the region, really pushed it over the top. It's like it's that meme, right? Like, whenever somebody would ask me what is the weakest region in Runeterra, I would often say like Freljord, Ionia, or Targon. And the reason people always got surprised that Freljord was one of the answers is because, well, they have Jax Ornn. They had Warden decks for a little while. They have Ash LeBlanc. And yes, those were powerful archetypes, but they're specifically strong. Yes, frostbiting is like a Freljord thing, obviously, but it's only good because you like have synergy with Frostbite. If you go to Freljord as like a more general usage region, it's terrible. If you go to Demacia, you have rallies, you have Form Up, you have like just good units, like you have Boros blocking Badger Bear, just a 3 mana 4/4. That's like good enough as like just tech options if you're building a deck already. Targon has Hush, Targon has Youngling, healing. They have some late game that can get you there. What does Freljord have if you're not like going there for something really, really specific that your deck directly benefits from? It didn't have that. But now it does with Omenhawk, which got a lot better. Like Omenhawk was always there. I don't think that buff really made that big of a difference, but more like, well, now Freljord is good. That also indirectly makes Omenhawk better. Sky Splitter, obviously, Combat Cook, all of that stuff. Suddenly it all came together, and Freljord just, yeah, it was the final drop in the bucket, or however you English fellas say that over there. It made the bucket overflow, and Freljord is broken now, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, they definitely were sleeping in the shadows a bit, and then with this new card, they kind of just like, all right, everyone's up in arms now, saying like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I think one of the funnier things as well, I've said this on Twitter, everyone voted Freljord for the community card kitchen because it was like, it's the weakest region, let's give it a good card, and within that starting, we locked in Freljord, and from that patch, it just went upwards. The card hasn't even been released. Yeah. The card is insane, by the way. I do not want to, like, we need to hit Freljord hard before the custom card gets released to the game.
Yeah, so for context, I think most people know about the community card kitchen. It was basically an incentive to build a card together with the community. So first we got to vote on what region, then we got to vote on what effect the card would have, and it was like, there were like 8 cards total, and it kept getting narrowed down until we had a winner. So the winner, I believe, is a 3-mana 3/3. I could be wrong on that. From Freljord, of course, that says, pick a unit in your hand, obliterate it, and summon a landmark with that unit inside with countdown equal to its cost. So if you use that on Bowdeer, that's a 3/3 that summons an 8 countdown landmark. And when it pops, well, Bowdeer comes out of it. But if you pick something like, I don't know, like an Acorn, a 1-mana 1/1, the 3/3 summons a landmark with countdown 1, and next turn you get an Acorn. It seems insanely powerful, and I think it will push like a Bowdeer Shrima deck, probably like over the top with stuff like Clockhand and Sigils.
So I just looked it up. It's not a 3-mana 3/3. It's a 2-mana 2/2. So you can get the effect off even earlier.
That is insanely big, because that's 1 turn earlier. That also means a landmark pops 1 turn earlier. Yeah, no, that's just really good. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, hey, Freljord are cooking. Gold region, they've got the oven on.
They definitely do. What about Demacia? What's Demacia doing over here with this Kingfisher card?
So Demacia got this big boat, and as everyone knows, boats draw champions. But the thing with Demacia, we have the biggest boat.
Yeah. The boat of all boats.
The boats of all boats, and so this is a 9-mana card from Demacia. It is an 8/8. It's called the Kingfisher, and when it's summoned, it will draw 1 of each champion from your deck. And then when you play a champion, the first time each round, you will rally. So basically, you draw every single champion in your deck. You're like, you know what? Time to come and play. So yeah, if you build a deck with 6 champions and you don't draw any of them before you play this, you're drawing 6 champions. If you're playing Secret Keeper in a Sunny deck, you can draw the champions that are just chilling in your deck.
You can draw Viego and Aurelion Soul. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a new endgame finisher for Demacia. Surprise, surprise, it's a rally effect. I don't think this is good in Eternal, but I really, really cannot wait to see Standard, because like I said before, the meta is a little bit slower. You can wait to play effects like this. And I've yet to do it because I've not really cooked much with this, because I don't really want to play this in Eternal because I'll just start losing games. I want to play this in a like heavy Demacia deck that focuses on keeping your units alive, and then I want to burst speed rally with J4 on the attack. I said it when the card was announced. I was like, if you attack with J4 with just any unit, he will immediately rally you. It's like Galio does with taking damage. Like you attack, you rally on the attack. It reminds me of good old Relentless Pursuit being 3-mana fast.
I mean, that's basically what it is, right? It's burst speed Relentless Pursuit now for 0 mana. I mean, you know.
But yeah, for Eternal, I'm not a massive fan, but I cannot wait to cook with this in Standard. I think this is a very healthy card to have.
Yeah.
We'll get on to the nerfs and buffs later for Demacia cards, because we need to talk about some of those. But yeah, I think this card is I like the design of this one.
It reminds me of that meme. Do you know like this meme with like that? There's like a room full of like men sitting like looking at a screen, and they're not excited about it. And then in the next screen, they're like pointing at the screen excited. That's me, where like the first part, when I'm summoned, draw one of each champion from your deck. I'm like, oh my god, look at that, that's so cool. And then this part is like, you know, just blank face, not excited, whatever, man. The rally, I don't care. But drawing one of each champion from your deck, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about this card. So let's move on. Okay,
Yes.
okay. So this one's for me. This is a Targon card. 5 mana, 4/5, Val Protector. When I'm summoned or you summon a Titanic ally, heal your Nexus 3. I think this is really the card that ties together the Aurelion Sol and Volibear deck, especially because War Mother is now also 11 mana. That's like, it's not okay. I really think that when we go back to Standard, there will be a deck there, and I think it's gonna... It's probably, like, I would say at least tier 2. I'm really optimistic about this deck. I think it's very strong, and this card heals such an incredible amount, especially if you combine it with Bowdeer. Because this gets summoned, heals 3. You summon Bowdeer, heals 3. 2 turns later, you get 2 Thralls. If Val Protector's still on the board, that's another heal 6. That's 12 health total. I love this card. It's extremely specific. Targon is trash right now. It's really bad. This card doesn't do anything for Targon as a whole, but it will definitely push like one very specific archetype into a bit more viability.
Yeah, I like the healing that Targon's getting. They are moving into that kind of everything region, it seems, apart from aggro. Like they're very mid-rangey now. Cosmic Call just got gutted, so the control aspect kind of thing got taken out. So this one kind of pushes it into like a later archetype kind of. But yeah, no, I like the effect. I like the fact that it also heals on play. Like a 5 mana 4/5, you think, okay, I have to play units, but you're immediately healing 3. It's very good. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this, because clearly this is hinting towards stuff for the future. Especially with some of these new cards. One of these ones that people are saying that this is going to hint towards a certain champion. So we'll just have to see how those decks look in the future, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, one final thing I want to say about this is like specifically what I said about the Volibear decks and why this is so good with Freljord. Is because very often with Freljord you're ramping on turn 3. And this is the reason why Trundle was so good, right? You ramp on turn 3, you skip turn 4, and on turn 5 you get to play Trundle. That's now the Val Protector. I think it's really important for Ram decks to have a viable, playable card on turn 5, and Val Protector could very easily be exactly that. So that's why I'm very optimistic about what this card means for the future of Targon and some of the more big chunky unit strategies. All right. Take it away.
I love this card. I absolutely love this card. So this is the Enraged Fire Spitter. It is a 6 mana dragon from Noxus. It's an 8/4 with Challenger that says play, deal 2 to an enemy and 2 to the enemy Nexus. And this play effect is an elemental skill, which means that if you want to use cards like Deluge, you can increase the damage to it.
Yeah, this is the card that I play with Shyvana, and this was also the first dragon from the new set that I played in an actual dragon synergy, or in a dragon center deck, I should say. And this is where I was like, where the hell is the Fury? Because I'm actually using this in combat, and the Fury not being there just felt so weird. I was even playing Dragon Chow, and it feels so natural to like play a dragon that eats Dragon Chow, and then you get like the +1/+1. I'm like, where's my +1/+1? But that's the Fury doing that, and not the Chow itself, obviously. So I actually think that right now, for Eternal, I'm just gonna slight spoilers, I guess. I think this is the strongest card released. This is the one that shows up in like the actual high win rate decks. We're not seeing Bowdeer, which looked like it would be... I mean, I'm pretty confident saying that it's the strongest card for Standard. But in Eternal, this one sees play with like a Draven Vi, where you can either give this Overwhelm or you can give it Elusive. I've seen it in Burn decks even, with like 1 or 2 copies of Might. And it's doing really well. The win rates, I mean, there's a lot of high win rate decks, but this one is up there, and I can definitely see why this card is good. It deals 2 to a unit for board control, deals 2 to the Nexus, some extra burn, and then it gets like, it potentially kills another big unit, or just challenges like a 1 health unit and finish the game with Overwhelm. This card is, I love this card. I'm glad it exists. Weirdly enough, I feel like in the past year, the past 2 years, whenever I'm talking about Noxus, it's like, yeah, this region is very strong, and of course they're gonna get more strong cards. But right now, Noxus really ain't that hot. Noxus isn't really doing anything right now. I mean, good, you know, give some room for other regions to be playable, like, I don't know, PNZ. You know, God knows they need to love. No, not really. They've been strong forever. But yeah, no, I'm glad seeing this card because it's the cool thing for Noxus to do.
Yeah, so I've been I sent you what the deck I've been playing this in. I've been playing this in Shyvana Galio.
Yeah.
Using like the Formidable Dragon, and so I cooked a new version of this deck today, and I've just loaded it up. Shyvana Galio, out of 15 games, they have a 66.6% win rate on the deck, which I think is relatively good for a Shyvana deck. Yes, it is taking advantage of some of the Formidables. And then I just booted it up to be like, let me see how many Noxus cards I have in this deck. I have 3. It's 3 copies of Enraged Fire Spitter. It is a 37 card Demacia deck. 3 of this card. But I do like this card a lot. I like the fact it has immediate play, like an immediate effect on play. So even if it gets immediately knocked out with its being 4 health, you could get some advantage of killing a unit. In Eternal, it hits Twisted Fate, which is pretty helpful.
If they don't suit up, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if they suit up, they kind of need to answer it the turn it comes down if you're attacking. So it at least forces an answer. But yeah, I love this card a lot. I think it's my favorite art out of all of them as well. I just like this card. It's a cool card.
I agree. Really, really glad that just something more like simple like this gets printed, right? We're not doing like the Saphirsa thing where it's like 3 lines of text or Kingfisher or anything complicated. It's just a nice, clean, big dude, big attack stat with Challenger and a nice play effect. It's great. Okay, so I want to ask you real fast. We're at the Chemtech Drake right now, and there was a bug with this card. Is that the only bug right now, or are there more? Because we can tackle that one right now too.
There's a few bugs, I think. One of them was with Baudir, with the space. But
okay,
we'll talk about this one now.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about Baudir real fast. So, the bug with Baudir, I mean, I think it was confirmed not to be a bug actually, but Baudir, when it's summoned, takes 2 thralls to summon on the board, but what will happen very often is that Baudir will be summoned through a sigil, and that sigil gets consumed. So if you have 3 units on the board and 1 sigil to reduce the cost of Baudir, that means that when you summon Baudir, one of the thralls kind of goes into like the waiting room off board, like not directly on the board, which means that that 1 thrall that doesn't get summoned immediately doesn't get reduced to countdown 2. It will be countdown 8. It's because this supposed
countdown 9.
Oh, countdown 9 because of the thrall nerf. There you go. Countdown 9 because thralls now have 9 on the countdown. Yes, exactly. Which we thought was a bug, but it's not, because there is this supposed waiting room when you want to summon a unit that eats something, like Baudir eating a sigil or Evelyn eating a husk, for example. There is this temporary waiting room while space gets created, and then, the actual summon effect doesn't happen, which is intended. Apparently.
Yes. I messaged someone messaged John, and I was like, okay, let me see what John said. And John was saying basically like if we made it so you could count down on that stack, things would become very interesting very fast. Apparently there is some cards that would pop the hell off if a card could do something in that waiting room. John knew what it was, but he wasn't going to say anything. But he was like, yeah, we can't turn that on. That's
is that a new card or an old card?
I don't know, but he just basically was saying like, hey, if we do this, there's going to be some cards that will just ruin the meta. There'll be, I don't know what it'll be. I mean, this is probably the only time that we've actually noticed that anything like this happens.
There was with Everglade Stalker, I think, if you remember that. I think if you had a full board with Evershade Stalker and a husk, and then you tried to eat the husk with a full board, the husk wouldn't deal damage. Oh, am I saying Evershade Stalker? I mean Neverglade Collector, sorry. Neverglade Collector. Wouldn't ping the Nexus for 1 because you would be eating the husk with another unit, but it was in the waiting room or something along those lines.
I mean, there's going to be some cards that literally do break the game. So I'm glad that John clarified it, because maybe people would have fight it and they would have been like, hey, yeah, sure, let's do this. And then someone would have, like, knowing it would have think. So okay. I like that Riot have turned around and said, yeah, no. So, but there was a bug, but then it was not a bug at the same time. It's just hey, you've just learned a mechanic. So
okay, exactly. Okay. So now for the actual bug, we have the Chemtech Drake, which is an 8-mana 8/8 dragon from Piltover that says when you play a spell, draw 1.
It's an 8-mana 8/6, by the way. You said 8/8.
Oh, my bad. I'm so used to it. Okay, it's an 8-mana 8/6, my bad. I'm so used to PSE getting these premium stats that I just assumed this one had that as well. My bad, dude, my bad. So Hearthstone players will know that this is a very, very powerful effect. It's on an 8 mana card though, so you know, it's kind of held back by that a little bit. When you draw while you have full hand, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. Now, before we talk about how this card is by itself, there was a very good deck at the start of the Eternal season, which used Camptech Drake and the card Loaded Dice. And that is a 4 mana card that says next turn, whenever you damage the enemy nexus, nab 1. And nabbing is a draw effect. So what will happen with this card is if your hand is full and you nab a card by dealing 1 to the enemy nexus, the Camptech Drake will draw that card from the enemy deck, but it's not coming from your hand, so it gets obliterated, your hand stays full. And because it then deals 1 to the enemy nexus from nabbing, the Camptech Drake triggers itself again. Or, sorry, the Loaded Dice triggers itself again because the Camptech Drake deals 1 to the nexus. So it literally goes infinite immediately, and you basically deck out your opponent and you deal, well, usually 20 damage to them before they even deck out. The bug here is that this was probably intended, but it would disconnect the game for some people. The server was in complete shambles because of this. So instead of directly nerfing it and changing the card text, you said, yeah, no, nabbing doesn't work anymore. You know, suck it. We're removing this interaction because it's crashing the server.
Yeah, so what it's probably going to say is when you draw from your deck, that's how they're going to change the card set.
Yeah.
There is funny ways that you could counter this card from killing you. For example, if you play deep, you wouldn't. So the way that nab works, you can't nab champions.
Ah.
So what you could do, you could technically get them to help you turbo deep if this interaction stayed in the game, which is really funny. I like the fact that it's like, hey, how do we counter this? Ah, yes, the good old deep.
Okay, Marshall, I'm not gonna lie to you, man, but if you're not deep on turn 8, I don't think you're playing deep right. I'm just gonna say that.
See, but then they don't have a win con, because what was that deck? It was just draw. It was literally just, okay, I'm gonna draw. And yes, they had Neela, but like, what can Neela do when you're like against deep? So
that's
like,
true.
If Riot decides that they want to keep this combo in the game for Eternal, and people remember this podcast, play deep, and you'll have a fun time. Or you can play something that like self-plants puff caps and get them to kill themselves on puff cap. There you go. Play some monument and damage
play
yourself.
some monument.
Wait, some monument completely.
It would actually be perfect. Wait, some monument would be so perfect. That would be so funny because every time it deals 1, it plants in your deck instead, and then they draw the cards.
Wait. I know, Riot, please fix this card.
Oh
please,
my god,
please.
that's so funny actually. Wait, that's hilarious. I didn't even think of that until now, but you're right. Some monument would be like, okay, you're trying to kill me. It's like, call an ambulance, but not for me, literally.
Wait, that's so good. I love that. Because what they would do, they would play Loaded Dice, so you would know they're going for it that next turn.
And then you play the monument,
and then you just play it. You're like, oh yeah, now I'll play it. And now I'm not in a rush. Oh, I like that. I really want that combo back just so I can let the combo players die to self-buff cap draw.
That's hilarious. I was actually going to say like, oh, my favorite way to counter is actually Lord Eldred or level 2 Lysandra because of the tough nexus, but now it's puff caps. Now it would be some monument.
Yeah, that's my new favorite card that we can't even do anymore. I really hope that they fix it and there's like, hey, we've unhotfixed the card.
I can't even make my opponent kill their own nexus anymore, man. What's the point? Why are you hitting yourself?
But yeah, no, this card... Yeah. After the nerf, I don't think it's really seen a home because the combo was that strong, and I think it was the only way that you would really see this card pop off. But pre-hotfix, this card was very funny to see. There's a clip of Margin doing this combo for like the second time, and he's just sat in his chair, dead-faced, just staring at the screen, no smile, no reaction, just watching it repeat over and over, and we're like, that's a combo player for you. They got the combo off, and then they're just gonna wait for you to die.
Not a shred of happiness. It's me when I play solo queue in League of Legends. Like, a loss will absolutely devastate me, and a win doesn't even make me feel any happiness anymore. I won, but at what cost? Yeah, exactly like that. I'm expecting this card to find a home somewhere. Like this first line of text where you play a spell, draw 1. There's gotta be something there, right?
You could probably put it in a Victor deck because you get the free spell.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get like a Victor with like Glorious Evolution, draw kind of shenanigans in Eternal.
Yeah.
For Standard, Seraphine, maybe. I don't know. There's going to be some deck. It'll be a mana cheating deck that costs 0 cast spells, which, I don't know, Janna decks, Neela decks, they're all running around nowadays. There'll be a version of a deck that runs this somewhere as the late game burn.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But yeah.
All right, up next.
5 mana 9/6 from Shurima, the Dune Swallower. It has Fearsome and Spell Shield, and to play this card, you need to sacrifice 3 mana gems or 3 allies, and it doesn't have to be either one. You can do 2 of one, 1 of another, 1 of one, 2 of another.
Yeah.
You made a video of this on day 1. I was the one that edited the video.
Yeah.
You seem to have quite a lot of fun with the with Kalista, I believe you played this with.
Yeah. I played this with Kalista because, I mean, the synergy is kind of obvious. Kalista needs 3 deaths to level up, and this kills exactly 3 things. Also, if it dies, Kalista bringing back a 9/6 Fearsome with Overwhelm. That's also pretty good. I very much felt like this was the perfect Kalista card. But killing 3 things, it's not as easy as it looks. It's pretty hard, but I do feel like I really thought that Undying was just going to be like a big meta card because of cards like this. Leech, Spirit Leech getting buffed. Now, while this strategy is actually very good right now, it's with They Who Endure, which got buffed to 6 mana, which we'll go over later. So it's not quite the shell that I had imagined for it, but Shadow Owl Slay, or Shadow Owl Self-Sacrifice, I should say, is alive and well, just not because of the Dune Swallower. Either way, happy that this card exists, because I think it's just a cool card. It's a big thing. Fearsome, clearly not nearly as good as Overwhelm, but this card would probably be extremely broken if it had Overwhelm. So you're gonna have to find a way to give it Overwhelm yourself.
It does Shurima Shadow Owls have an Overwhelm? I don't think it does. I think it's just stuck as a Fearsome card, unless you branch out to another region that
Shurima has ways to give Overwhelm. I mean, Absolver got rotated. They have like the Kaiser card, Lucky Finds. There's probably more I'm not thinking of.
Okay, I'm telling you now, you're not playing the Kaiser spell on this. You get half the effect. It's a 4 mana Overwhelm.
That's true. But I don't know, man. I'm sure there's something there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're desperate to give this Overwhelm, sure, you can run the Kaiser's. I don't even know what it's called. The shield thing.
It's called Frontal Assault.
Frontal Assault. I don't even know what. I think it's called something shield. It's called Supercharge.
No, okay, close enough. All right, let's move on before we get stuck on that. All right, we got the Spectral Ironhound. A 6 mana Shadow Owl card. This kind of, we could talk about this one at the same time as Dune Swallower because they're pretty similar. 6 mana 5/3 Shadow Owl. To play me, kill an ally, so only 1 instead of 3. When I'm summoned, summon a 1000 Claw Deathwinder, which is an 8/4 with Fearsome. 6 mana. I think this card is very cool, but it's 6 mana, which is also kind of like what holds it back.
Yes, I think this card, by the way, in Standard is going to be crazy. We're in like a mid-range meta, so as long as you have like a very small unit, this is trading off of quite a lot of cards that you're going up against at 6 mana, especially the other one with 8 attack, the 1000 Claw Deathwinder.
Yeah.
I just think this is a very good card in Standard. Helps Viego's package. Like, you kill off a unit, then you get 2 big attack units, which Viego wants anyway. Like, Viego's all about give me big statted units and let them die. Like, I think you'd let them die in a Viego deck, and Viego's going to be leveled. I mean, he is on turn 6 anyway, but like, you play him turn 6, play this turn 7 maybe? I don't know, but like, I feel like 2 of in a Viego deck, you're not going to be disappointed with this.
I was going to say, imagine if Viego was still 5 mana, man. This card would be everything for a Viego deck. Yeah. That's 13 power. The funniest moments that I've had with this card is that sometimes you're playing against Formidable, and then you have an 8/4 Fearsome, and you're like, yep, good luck. Because that usually connects.
Yeah, us Fearsome players, we don't really like... Formidable players, we don't really like Fearsome a lot. It's No, it's not a keyword that we like. We like the brash keyword. Anyone with brash, send them our way. Fearsome,
Jack who? But this 1000 Claw Deathwinder, ooh, that's trouble. Okay, so yeah, in Eternal, the Dune Swallower and the Spectral Ironhound aren't very hot, but I think in Standard, where the power level is a little bit higher, where there is more of a mid-range meta and no Twisted Fate shenanigans or They Who Endure shenanigans with just somehow the deck that summons a ton of 1/1s eventually has better stats than an 8/4. We don't have to deal with any of that in standard, so we'll have to wait probably a month until we can really see these cards shine. Which let's just, before we pick and compare like some of the cards to the variety cards from last time individually, let's talk about the general feel. How do you feel about this Eternal Season compared to the last one?
So, doing this, I think it's important to look at the meta. So, if we go and have a look at the ranked Eternal right now, we have the top 3 decks are Neela Twisted Fate, Ezreal Janna Seraphine, and Blade Dance. So, Twisted.
Right.
There's some things to say about these decks. Temple with TF is a bit of a problem. I did a post today on Twitter to say, hey, if I'm building a deck in Eternal, the first thing I'm searching is my region combination and to destroy a landmark.
Yeah.
I then find 3 cards. It can be Explorers, it can be cards that are in that region. I need at least 3. If I don't have a way to answer Sunken Temple, and I go against the most played deck, which is Neela Twisted Fate, you just lose the game. Like, Temple in that deck is insane. You have to have an answer to it. The sad thing is, many of the new decks aren't running any of the new cards. Compared to the last Eternal Season, where we had Balin the Benevolent, and we had
the Monument,
the Monument and Cosmic Call, like all of these new cards, they came out and they were like, hey, they get full power. You're gonna have to click them individually if you want to. But like, these cards were like in their prime. They were in the Eternal format with every other card, and they got to like reign the meta. And I think it is a little bit disappointing that these new cards haven't hit like as meta defining as it was, because like the last meta was a Cosmic Call meta. It was, hey, here's a new card, we're going into Eternal. Remember the last Eternal where everything was aggro? We're completely different now. We're doing a full Cosmic Call, turn 5 Cosmic Call, playing late game cards early. It was a complete shift up, and I'm a little bit disappointed that we aren't seeing that, but like, I think everyone kind of knew that Twisted Fate was going to be a little bit broken with some of these new cards, and he's definitely having his time in the spotlight.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that right now, like you said, the top 3 decks, they all like, okay, so for Twisted Fate Neela, clearly the strongest card they can play is Sunken Temple, because it enables Rune Drex, always makes it shoot 6, it insta levels Twisted Fate, levels Neela, enables literally all of their cards. Then we look at Ezreal Seraphine Janna, same story, Sunken Temple, Back Alley Bar. These are the cards that power their deck up to 11. Azir Aurelia, it's very much like you have Azir or you have Aurelia. And as a third card, it's the Emperor's Dais, the landmark, which also is another landmark that needs to be destroyed. Those are like the big ones. These are the top 3 decks. And right now, it's very much, if you're playing a deck and you're not prepared to deal with that landmark that they summon immediately, you're probably not winning the game. Whereas in the last meta, yes, Cosmic Call was extremely powerful, but this was a card, which is how I felt when I play my off-meta decks. This card lets you play your game for a little bit. It gets to do insanely powerful things later in the game, but it doesn't stop you from playing. Blade Dance very much stops you from playing. You do not get to play the deck you are intending it to be played. And that's why, maybe that's a big part of why I like the last meta so much. It's like, yes, Balin was very strong, Cosmic Call was very strong. I forgot what other decks were like super powerful during that time.
I think it was just Cosmic Call. Oh, it was not Seraphine, Samira.
Samira Akshan, okay.
Three-gutted Samira Akshan.
That deck I found very frustrating too, because that was also a deck which was like, you answer my champion on turn 2, you answer my 2/2 quick attacker, or you lose the game. But still, overall, I felt like deck building and deck variety in general was at an all-time high almost. I was having a really good time with it. And right now, we don't really have that. And I think a big reason for that is because the 10 new cards that we got weren't good enough to actually impact the meta at all. I think we identified this last time too. Now, we're not developers. You know, it's possible that the designers are thinking about this completely different, but just seeing these 10 cards that came out last time and seeing how powerful they were and actually able to make a difference compared to now, it's a bit of a letdown. I love these new cards. I think they're extremely cool, but I think at first glance, we were all able to tell, like, yeah, these cards are all 9 or 8 mana. They're probably not going to do anything for the meta.
So I think these cards are going to be very similar in design to the Heart of the Huntress variety cards.
Yeah.
Which were like, you saw them, you're just like, these don't really do that much. I can't remember what those cards were exactly. I know one of them was like the Packer card, where you're like charging all your cats at your opponent with free attacks.
Yeah, it was like the bird, the dog. It was like that's where we first saw the subtypes, the new subtypes. Yeah, it's exactly like you said. I think it was really strange, right? Because we got these subtypes during that variety patch, and it's like, okay, we get like one actual subtype payoff with the bird, and there's Warden of the Tribes, but that was it. And that was
so I'm looking at it now. It's Cobra, the Shimmerwing, Blowback, Captain Idari, Pack Attack, Altar to Unity, Sacrificial Scholar, Condense, Grave Companion, Blacksmith, Perfidious Promoter. These were all cards that you saw play, but none of them were like meta defining. Like you look at those, like Condense was good, but it wasn't like Cosmic Call good.
Yeah,
like, there was. I think the new cards now sit at the same one as the 4.5 new cards.
Yeah. All these cards, like all of these variety cards from last time, were real archetype definers. Cosmic Call, define an archetype. Balin, reinvigorated a failed archetype. Valley of Imitation made a couple of archetypes, but also made Nidalee finally playable. The Crimson Banquet Hall, I mean, you know, that's a bit of a controversial one, but it did create a new deck. Even like Mr. Thrift and the Proliferating Darkblade made new decks, even if they weren't competitive. I think the only like duds were Divine Draft and Tidal Invocation, because these were like, okay, these are fine cards, but they don't do anything for like a specific deck. Here, I feel like we should have new specific decks, but they're all an 8 and 9 mana cards, and that just ain't enough. That doesn't cut it against, you know, Twisted Fate not getting nerfed, Sunken Temple not getting changed, Blade Dance getting a buff. How dare you, Riot? Honestly.
Yeah, there's some questionable balance changes in this one, which we'll go through in a minute. But yeah, I definitely think that if you're comparing them, this variety set was the exact same as the 4.5 variety set. Yeah. And then the previous one that we had before that was like, it is the new high of like, this is the perfect meta for, like, I had to demote from that patch. I don't even think that was like, you can see it when I was uploading videos. I did like 5 videos in a row. I was like, hey, here's a new Balin deck that I'm cooking you up for today. It was so fun. I loved it.
Yeah. As fun as I think these cards are, they're just not competitive. Right now, in Eternal. Not one.
I do think that some of these will probably become meta defining when we get the new cards. There's no way that, like, for example, there's going to be some card that gets printed that's maybe going to cheat out Titanics, or maybe you get another Sigil card for Freljord, or we're going to do something, and it's just one of these cards is going to pop off, and
absolutely
we're going to go, oh, I really missed when this card was like not good, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, but we're like a retrospective of the patch that came out a week ago, so that's all we can really do. We're talking about what happened 1 week and how we've been feeling about what happened that week ago in this week. So we don't know. We're just talking about them now, and right now this ain't it. It's exactly the same as with the subtype. We got a dog, got a bird, got a reptile, we got a cat. And like, okay, cool. What do I do with these? And now we got dragons for every region without Fury. Okay, cool. What do I do with these? You know, and we don't know. It's cool. It's a nice little teaser for what's to come, but I don't know. I don't know what to do with it.
They're not. It's not the fact that they're bad cards either. Some of them are really good, and some of them are bad. But it's not as if like it's a dud for this thing. Like, new cards came out. It's fun to deck build with them. But it's literally nothing compared to the old one. Like,
that's fair.
When you are comparing it, you can't. It's not even on the same level. It's not even close.
No, that's fair, and that's important that you say that, because they are extremely cool and fun cards. They're just not able to hold up with the usual suspects, the top 3 right here. Goddamn Blade Dance for the second year in a row. Get it out of my face, man. Every time I play against a deck, I die a little inside. Anyway, with that out of the way, before I lose my mind, let's talk about some very... Okay, actually, before we do that, let's pick a top 3. What do you think from this set is the top 3? And what do you think from this set is the top 3? Let's do this one first. Let's do the variety patch from 3 months ago first. What is your top 3?
So I think the card from the last set had to be Cosmic Call. I don't think it could be anything. It literally defined the Eternal meta.
Yeah.
I would then very happily put Balin.
Agreed.
And then I would put Valley of Imitation.
Exactly. That's exactly my top 3 as well. So that's interesting. Cosmic Call, Balin, and Valley of Imitation definitely defined archetypes and heavily powered up decks. Now let's look at the new card from this set. What is your top 3 right now?
I would have to go. Bordir is at the top.
Yeah.
The Enraged Fire Spitter
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
And if I had... See, this is the thing. I don't know what to go for a third. There's nothing where I can confidently say it. I'd have to sit there and think about it and go, you know what? I actually don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And here's another funny thing. Right now, do you think Bordir would even appear in your top 3 from the last patch? Or for the last variety patch?
From the last variety patch?
Yeah. Is Bordir better than the Valley at 3 mana?
At 3 mana? No.
It was 3 mana, right? Yeah, it was 3 mana.
Yeah,
it
was 3 mana.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of settles the debate already. For number 3, I think it's actually Val Protector, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it. I mean, it's either, if I had to, it's either going to be Veiled Protector or it's going to be Surfacer. That's the only one, the only 2 that it could be. But like, even then, I'm not even that confident on that. I'd rather just say, look, I'm happy with my top 2. I don't need to say a third.
Yeah, I think Enraged Fire Spitter, if we're just looking at stats, is better than Bordir in Eternal meta. But I don't think that's going to be the case in the standard meta. So I think these are the 3 cards that are competing right now.
I've been running Fire Spitter in Civil LeBlanc. It's a very good reputation card.
Oh, interesting.
I like it. See, that's the thing. The card is unique. It does what it wants. It's a fun card, but it's nothing compared to the other ones.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not Valley. It's not Cosmic Call, and it's also definitely not Balin. Absolutely. Yep. Okay, that was that. Now, before we started this podcast, we quickly went over all these balance changes, and we picked 4 cards. We wanted to pick 3 each, but honestly, there wasn't really anything interesting enough that made us pick 3 cards each. So we settled on 4 of them, and we're gonna start with They Who Endure. Let me actually just type that in here to find it. They Who Endure. This used to be a 7 mana card, now got buffed to 6 mana. Now, They Who Endure is a 6 mana 1/1 baseline from Freljord with Overwhelm. When of summon, grant me +1/+1 for each ally that has died. So to sum this one up, it's pretty simple. This is played with Shadow Owl, it's played with cards like Elise, Hapless Aristocrat, it's played with Hate Spike, Spirit Leech, which got buffed from a 4/1 to a 4/2, and they just send their units to their grave. They want their units to die, they don't care. They don't care if their Elise dies, they don't care if their Spiderlings die. They just want stuff to die so that this becomes a 14/14 on turn 6, and then if they don't kill you with that big Overwhelm hit, they kill you with Atrocity. Now, one interesting thing that I just want to make a quick side note here is that I think it's really interesting that they nerfed Cosmic Call and Star Tip Peak to kind of get Targon out of the way, because if you remember, way back when, 3 years ago, when this card was good, it was completely just shattered, obliterated, thrown out of this world into the void by Equinox and Hush. But now that Targon got nerfed, that's not really the natural counter that you see for this They Who Endure card. And this is important because this card is at the top of the meta, one of the highest win rates.
Yeah, I think this card is only seeing play because you can play with Atrocity. I think Atrocity is a very, very strong card, especially with a card like this where you have Overwhelm base and it can be like a 20/20. It's like, hey, I'm going to attack, then you've got to respond, and then I will play my Atrocity and you can answer. Cards like Tristana had the same issue. Any card that can go big, Atrocity, it wants that sweet, sweet power. It goes, give me that power, we're going straight to the Nexus. Yeah. I like this though. I don't think the card's broken. I think it's very fair. There's a lot of ways you can counter this: Frostbite, Silence, Kill. This is like a good card that I think, yes, it's strong. There's so many counters that you don't really care about this. Like, if you have if this was like meta defining, it wouldn't be for long.
I fully agree. Yeah, it's really weird because obviously 3 years ago, this at 6 mana, Atrocity. Was Atrocity ever 6 mana? I think it was. Yeah, because you could double Atrocity, and everyone was like, I can't play around that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Atrocity. So you had They Who Endure at 6 mana, you had Atrocity at 6 mana, fast speed. 3 years ago, yeah, this was a very good card. We obviously got a lot of new cards that support this archetype. We got Hate Spike. We got Spirit Leech that got buffed. I think this is it. This is the deck list, right? Yeah, we got Fading Icon even in a way. Soul Harvest for some control. Yeah, it's just really, really good. The interesting thing though is that this is kind of a recurring theme with Runeterra. Very often, I get people in my chat and they're like, hey, I used to play, I don't know, 2 years ago, and I loved Scouts. What's a good deck right now? I'm like, well, queue up Scouts. It's still good. And it happens so often with decks where it's like, hey, I used to love this deck in the past. I actually, like, today when I was streaming, somebody came to my chat and said, hey, last time I played was during Battle City, and I played a lot of Ziggs Poppy. What should I play? Like, well, you're in luck, buddy. Dust off that old deck. Get that deck code, because that's still good right now, because we're in the Eternal season, obviously. So, yeah, no, it's once again a blast from the past, but this is what Riot wanted, right? They wanted the old archetypes, old decks to have a place to live their best life, and boy, that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I'll give it a year, and we'll be seeing a lot of decks return to their glory. And they who endure were very lucky and received their buff in this patch. But yeah, like I said, this is a good change. I like this.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about this change? This is the second card we chose. This is Desert Wrath. Went from 4 mana to 3 mana. Slow speed Shurima. Grant allied Sand Soldiers everywhere. +1/+0. Summon 2 Sand Soldiers.
It's a Blade Dance buff. I do not like Blade Dance. I'm fairly sure 70% of the LOR population doesn't like Blade Dance. Don't forget it, wherever you are. Congratulations. This deck has cursed the entire game.
His legacy.
His legacy has been cemented with this archetype. But I was looking at the patch notes and I was like, you know what? None of these changes look good. And like the day after and the day after, I was looking at it and I was like, no, nothing really sticks out. And then when the patch notes came out, so I was like, wow, this Desert Wrath change is really good. It's a Blade Dance buff. And I'm like, oh my god, it is. No, no.
I looked at this card change and I got pretty optimistic. I'm like, oh, cool. This is like the Zolani Azir deck, right? The Zolani the Bloodweaver. It's like maybe because there's also Dame the Despoiler that got. I mean, okay, that doesn't actually like. Okay, so Dame the Despoiler is a Noxus card, but in my head I was thinking like Jack Taskmaster plus Desert Wrath. Maybe there's something there, but that's not the case. I thought this was cool for like a unique Swarm deck, a new Sand Soldier deck, but no, it's just Blade Dance. It's just freaking Blade Dance, man. Of course, every time Azir gets buffed like this, it's a Blade Dance buff, and that's unfortunate, man. I just want to say one more time, there is a card in Blade Dance called Defiant Dance. It's a 5 mana actually. 5 mana, recall a unit and Blade Dance 1. And I think it's such an incredibly disgusting card. It is the most baffling card in any card game ever that I have seen printed. Because when Blade Dance came, I'm sorry, I'm rambling about Blade Dance, but whatever, man. It's our podcast. If you guys are listening, this is what you're dealing with, okay? Blade Dance, when it came out, didn't have Defiant Dance. It came a patch later. It came with the next expansion, and Blade Dance at the time was in this this kind of like triangle of decks where it would beat Watcher decks. Watcher decks would beat Nasus Trash, and Nasus Trash would beat Blade Dance because Nasus would grow really big from all those Sand Soldiers. If you weren't like that, if you were an off-meta player like me, you would play like, I don't know, dragons, right? Because Fury, your little dragons grow really big because they keep killing Sand Soldiers. You even had Radiant Guardian back in the day, which was like a 5/5 with Tough and Lifesteal. Fantastic counter. But it's like, with those decks you play one unit at a time, and then the next freaking expansion, they print a card that recalls your one big unit that they have to make Blade Dance even stronger. The one natural counter, if you weren't already playing Thresh Nasus, was those decks, and they just printed like a hard counter to that as well. It was mind-blowing. I still do not understand it when I think about it all this time later. It's one of the weirdest decisions I've seen in card games. They literally printed a counter to the, or like a card to counter the natural counter of that deck when it was already one of the most frustrating cards that players have ever encountered. I can't Riot. I'm still angry.
I'm fairly sure that was then followed by Nova Guess's comment. Like, yeah, we like this deck. You're like,
we love the play patterns.
They're like, good, because we fucking don't. What's going on?
Oh my god, man. It's, yeah, I mean, that's all there is to say about this card. I'll let you ramble as well. What do you think about this, Marshall? What's left to say?
I made a deck with Lucian Azir this morning. Played one game. I went against a deck. It was fun to play. It wasn't Blade Dance, so I won. It was in a normal game because I didn't want to take it in ranked. It was close. I mean, it just does okay stuff in Azir, but if Azir is then with Aurelia, it's game winning. Like every other thing that you do with Azir, if you buff him, you buff Aurelia. So
yeah.
It's
eternal.
4 mana is huge, absolutely huge. The fact that you can play this on turn 3 and still have a unit mana available is like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like that, right? When a card goes from 4 to 3, or when a spell goes from 4 to 3 mana, that's exactly that spell mana that you can bank, and that's just such a big deal. It makes everything so smooth because you can play the spell and play something on curve if you have the spell mana. It's a big deal. It creates mind games for the opponent. And yeah, it's not only is it 1 mana cheaper, it's also just like generally the way Runeterra wants to be played really makes it feel so much smoother for these type of spells. That's why Deny used to be 3 mana, went to 4 mana. It's like, oh, now I can't bank my spell mana for Deny anymore. Huge deal.
Yep, it's a big change, and I'm going to be very glad that I don't have to see it when we go to Standard.
Yeah, same here. Okay, so Cosmic Call. Infamous at this point. I'll let you take it away for this one.
So Cosmic Call was the 2 mana spell that said invoke to invoke a celestial card that costs 7 or more, or pay 8 to also reduce celestials everywhere by half. This then got nerfed in the most recent patch, and it now no longer invokes on the second part. You just pay 8 and celestials everywhere basically get the cost half, and you don't invoke, so it's just 8 mana to reduce the cost of all your cards. And it's like, it's a very big change.
Yeah.
I want to say it killed the card.
It killed Targon.
It did. It's kind of upsetting. I wasn't a massive fan of Cosmic Call. I did think that they were just going to make it cost 9. I just thought it came online a bit too fast. Because aggro isn't really a thing in Standard, so you couldn't really aggro them down, and even if you did, they had Cosmic Youngling, there's loads of healing in Targon, so you couldn't kill them fast. So you were kind of forced to play against this abomination of a deck. In Eternal, it popped. There's a reason probably why this got nerfed, which was for the Sins of Eternal. However, this is definitely a huge change. I know there was a lot of tournaments. Margin Bay was reacting to this, and he built a tournament lineup like 3 days beforehand. And then this came out, and he was like, oh, I've just built a 3x Cosmic Call deck. And then it was like, oh, this card is nerfed now. Like, my entire game plan has been thrown out the window. And it was like,
yeah,
it's just this card is basically unplayable now. I will be very surprised if I see it in Standard when we go back to the format. I'm not really happy with how they did this. Same with, it's really weird because for a card that I didn't enjoy, they killed it, and it should have made me happy. But there's too many times now where Riot are just saying like, hey, we're killing cards. Like Demira completely killed, Cosmic Call completely killed. Somehow they keep killing off these really good cards, and I am a little bit disappointed because it is like a very meaningful change. Maybe they tried it at 9 mana and it was still too strong, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, like I said, I don't think I'll see this in Standard anymore. I've still not seen it in Eternal anywhere. We'll just have to wait and see.
I'm gonna try to be optimistic, and I'm just gonna say that Riot just didn't want to see this archetype rule another Eternal meta because they probably thought it was gonna be too good for the new cards releasing. It was gonna be too good even on top of like the new cards that we got. So maybe this is my copium. We're getting a Targon champion next expansion, and hopefully that'll make Targon actually playable, because not only by nerfing Cosmic Call, it was the only real playable card that Targon had. I'm not gonna count elusives because even that wasn't very good. I think there were like some Yumi decks that was mostly played with Battle City anyway. About like stat buffing. That's not. I mean, stat buffing, it's a Targon thing for sure. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like. It's not why players are like, oh, Targon is my favorite region, because that's just invoking and playing like big dudes, playing like slow early, healing a little bit, and then getting like that insanely powerful, explosive late game. That's why I love Targon. I love Aurelion Sol. I love the Space Dragon, I love Celestials, it's an awesome thematic, and Cosmic Call really brought that back for one Eternal meta, so I can't complain. But yeah, I'm just gonna hope that there is more going on for Targon in the next expansion, because it's a completely dead region right now, and that's real sad, because it is my favorite.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about maybe possible teasers after this, for who we think might be coming. But yeah, no, I am a little bit saddened for this.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said about this card. It's I like that they printed this. I love that they did it in a variety patch to give some life to Targon when it most needed it, and then they took that away. They just unalived it. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then the next and final change that we chose, and this one is probably a little less controversial, but the win rates are definitely showing that this card is a force to be reckoned with, and that's the Bandle Tree. We all know this one. It used to be that this card would get summoned and it would remember all regions that you played for 5 mana. Then it got changed that it needs to see all the regions that you played, so all the units that are on the board. It needs to see those regions. That was then reworked into a 4 mana card because it was so much weaker, and now it got buffed to 3 mana. So Bandle Tree is a 3 mana Bandle City landmark that says create a follower from a new region in hand. Then, if I've seen allies from 10 regions, win the game. And this final part of text, this win the game, is something that you usually only see on landmarks nowadays. Fiora is the other one. Rise is the other one. Rise, funnily enough, is also a landmark deck. But beside that, we have Starspring and... No, just Starspring, I think. That's it?
Starspring, Fiora, Bandle Tree, Rise.
Okay. Now, 3 of those I kind of consider to be landmark decks where you need to interact with landmarks to do anything. Fiora is not quite that way, but yeah, the fact that this deck is on a landmark also used to make it very specific to interact with it, but now that we have Explorers, I think this is fine. However, when we checked, this Bandle Tree deck was at a 57% win rate. I played it myself, it felt quite powerful. I don't think I was playing the deck perfectly at all, and it still carried me to Diamond with an 80% win rate over like, I don't know, 15 games or something. Might be a little less. So yeah, it's powerful, however, I don't think it's oppressive.
Yeah, see, that's the thing with Bandle Tree. Old one was just horrible to play against. It was just basically, I'm going to play 10 different regions, and then I'm going to play Bandle Tree, and if you don't have the answer, I just win the game on the spot.
Yeah.
Very, very toxic. This Bandle Tree is very weird, because the moment you play it, you do 3 mana, it's 3 mana do nothing. And then for the rest of the game, it's giving you value until it meets that winning condition. So you have to make a decision. Do I spend my landmark removal now, to make sure they don't get the value, for them to possibly have another one in hand just to play again, and then you lose that entire value of, okay, they'll just get the level now and I need to find another landmark removal? Or do you wait until it's turn 8 and then they get into that they're getting that countdown up, so it's going to like 8 regions, 9 regions, 10 regions, and then you destroy the landmark, but then they've got 7 turns of free units? It's a very tricky one. I've only played against this once. Yeah, I think it'll just forever be a problematic card, I think, in some people's eyes. But yeah, it was definitely a change that I didn't actually think would do much, and I'm surprised to see it doing well.
Yeah, what you said too, I was playing this this deck, like I said, and I had that exact scenario where my opponent waited until I was at like 10 out of 10, and then they removed it. But then I just beat them because I had like a complete overflow of value, because I got like 6 units from this card or something, and they couldn't keep up with it. So it's interesting on when you want to remove this. And for 3 mana, the Temple Loss isn't even that big. Like, it sucks because you're kind of playing for board, because you are Bandle City and you're playing Poppy and Gnar because you kind of have to. Those are just the best in slot for their regions. But it doesn't matter if you're playing this 3 mana landmark. You're getting value and you're still summoning units. Like, usually you're summoning like a card that gives you another card, like Bandle City Mayor or the Grandfather Fae, or, you know, Gnar giving you a Pokestick if it strikes. There's a lot of stuff you need to interact with in the Bandle City deck or the Bandle Tree deck, and if you miss one of them, or one of them gets slightly too out of hand, you're often already looking at a loss. So this deck specifically and this card, I think if this was too strong, I would dislike it strongly. But when it's, you know, it hits that right point in balance where it's not too frustrating and it's not too winning too many games, and it has those points of where you're able to interact with it, I think this is just fine to have around an Eternal. Like, if we can have Blade Dance as a deck in Eternal, then I say, why can't we have Bundle 3, right?
Yeah, if you have one evil, you might as well have all of them.
Right. Let all the most toxic decks fight each other and see which one comes out ahead. Right now, it looks like it's Blade Dance anyway, so, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I do kind of want to talk about one other change. Very quickly, Champion Strength has been nerfed again. We're going back to 9 mana, and we're it's crazy. This card is not rotated already. I'm adamant that this card is going. By the way, there's no way that this card remains in Standard. They'll put the old text on it and then they'll ship it right back to Eternal. It's just crazy to me that this card has gone back to 9 mana. I don't know. It's just they're like, oh yeah, we'll remove that really broken condition, and then we'll put it back to 1 mana less, back to its original 8 mana cost. And like thinking about this card, Watamai brought 3 decks. I had 3 copies of Champion Strength to Worlds last year, and he didn't draw any in any of his games. And it's like, oh my god, if this man just like didn't extremely low roll and didn't like, there was just so many things that went wrong for him, and it was just like he probably had a very high chance of winning Worlds because the old copy of this was broken. Yeah. To be fair, we were playing against old broken Aatrox, so there's like swings and roundabouts. Which broken card do you want? But yeah, no, I'm very surprised that this card is still in the game. I expect it to be rotated next time, and it's still playable at 9 mana. Don't let the nerf hide anything. Once we're back in Standard, you're gonna still see this card everywhere.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's really interesting from like a deck building perspective too, where with Golden Eggs and Relentless Pursuit, the 5 mana Give Something Barrier and Rally card, you really had to work for a board. You couldn't just play like a board of 1/1s, right? And then rally and expect to win. Champion Strength turns your board of like completely like trash units. Like you could have an Owlcat or something, a 2/1 with Spell Shield. You can have a Teemo, you can have an Acorn, and they become 5/5 elusives. It becomes a 6/5 with Spell Shield. Suddenly, that's like that. Those are real units that you have to deal with. And when it was just Golden Aegis, that wasn't really the issue. Like their units didn't grow bigger, so it was like a rally, but they had to build their board. They had to protect their units. So I think that was a much healthier direction for decks that want to rally. And I think Champion Strength just turning every single unit into a threat is not a great direction, and also doesn't feel very cool. You have like this epic artwork with Lux, Jarvan, Garen, and Galio like looming in the background, like shadowy, looking like superheroes. But in reality, it's just stupid hamsters turning into like 5/5 elusives that beat you down. I don't know, man. It's a shame. It really is.
Yeah, but the joke around this card is that it's for Demacia. Yeah. That's the entire joke. And
for Demacia!
It should just be
Jin on the artwork is what you're saying. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. That's well done. No, I think it should be +3/+3. Maybe it would be a bit more balanced. Maybe you could drop it back down to 8 mana then if you really wanted it to sit in that spot. But yeah, it's just a problematic card overall, I think. And off to the Death Realm you go.
Yeah, coming from the Demacia player, so you know it's serious, dude. All right, so you quickly wanted to say something about potential teasers. I think I know exactly which one you're talking about.
So yeah, if we go to Runeterra AR, we can open some of the cards. So there's quite a lot of theories going around. If we just go from like the top ones and make our way down, we can start the bottom.
All right, I'll start at the top. All right. So
Dragon number 1. We'll start with this one. So Water Dragon. We have then followed it with a Chemical Dragon. Then we have the Ice Dragon.
Yeah.
And then we have a Fire Dragon. And then the trend kept going that we kept getting these like, we have like, it's 5 dragons we have. So everyone was saying, okay, there's definitely dragons going here. I've seen some things talking about the possibility of Elder Dragon, which is a possibility. I'm really, really hoping that we get Catagrin.
Yeah.
I posted this online. I like the idea because in the Catagrin's like text in the game, it says that like him and like the dragons like got together and then he sent them to Demacia to get Shyvana. And I really like the idea that these could possibly be the dragons that he speaks to.
Portia
like,
looks really menacing too. Yeah, look at this. This thing
terrifying.
has written murder in her eyes.
Kills you with cuteness. That's what I say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like the Cadogan, the idea. However, some people are on Elder Dragon. Some people don't think we're getting any dragons at all.
League of Legends is getting a new young 80 carry dragon too, I believe. But that's probably too far in the future.
Yeah, you never know. We have had champions release in LOR first.
Akshan.
There is Akshan was the prime example. So maybe we'll see something like that. Maybe they release it in LOR and do the reveal for that on League around the same time. We'll see. The next card is the Veiled Protector, which in the artwork we can see the Winged Protector, otherwise known as Morgana.
Yeah.
The Veiled Lady. The Winged Protector is Kayle. So yeah, the Veiled Protector is...
the Veiled Lady is Morgana, right? If you play Mage Seeker, that's what they call her.
So there's the possibility that this is the first time we've seen her in the game. So maybe this is hinting at possible Morgana this expansion.
I read a theory in one of the comments on my YouTube video when I did the first initial patch review that said Morgana could be about hand buffing units and turning them into Titanics that way. Because we have the Star-Crossed Lovers, we have a bunch of like hand buff stuff that we got, like the Generous Gem Crafter. We also still have stuff like Mihira. I think it's a really like plausible theory because it would synergize with Kayle, it would synergize with Mihira, their mother, and it would also fit with her character, where she like kind of like lifts up those who are down in a way. So hand buffing units to turn them into Titanics, where she has like that synergy with the Veiled Protector that heals if you summon a Titanic unit. I think there's some real possibility that could be the case.
Yeah, maybe Morgana herself is a Titanic. Maybe she's like a 1/8. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I like the idea that she's probably gonna have a Soraka stat line where she's like really low attack, but like is a Titanic, so that if you want to, possibly you could ramp her out, and then she's gonna, like you say, maybe she does an effect like that.
That's cool. I like that.
Maybe like the opposite of Kayle. I feel like it has to be the opposite of Kayle. There's going to be something like Kayle does this, Morgana does that, and it's going to all make sense to us.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. It's pretty funny because when Kayle came out, we were like, okay, so Morgana's obviously coming for Demacia because you need these two in the same region. But then, when that didn't happen, I was like, okay, so obviously Morgana is coming as the next champion for Targon, and here we are a freaking year later. Whatever, man. All right. I mean, it would still be the next Targon champion. It's just, it took a year. But yeah,
it took a while. So yeah, at the moment, there's Bandle City, Shadow Isles, Demacia, and Targon, who do not have a champion for 2023. That's because Bilgewater got greedy and had 2 champions this year.
I'm okay with it. I'm fine with it. Jack's kind of cool. Nilai's kind of unique too. I fully believe in the vision of the Runeterra team, and yeah, even if we have to wait a little bit longer, even though there are some dead regions right now, Ionia, Targon, and Shurima are like left rotting, even Shadow Isle in a way, left rotting somewhere, but I'm sure we'll show them some love at the end of the year.
Ionia can die for their karma sins. I don't want to see that region come back.
True, I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
But yeah, if we go to the next cards, so there's a couple that are like kind of mysterious. So if we start with, the Spectral Ironhounds, these are quite clearly hinting at a possible Mordekaiser. Even like the flavor text of the Thousand Clawed Deathwinder. Once it loads,
there it is.
It hints at like Mordekaiser's actions of like getting the souls of was it the souls? What's it referred to as? Basically telling you like there was like the flavor text hints is the possibility of Mordekaiser.
Yeah, it says the skitter of 1,000 iron-clawed hands and the gnashing of spectral teeth promise a nasty end to any who refuse to serve.
And he, in the lore, was that he takes the souls from the death realm and like he gets them to do certain things. So like in here he puts it in this creature, or he puts it in his mace, or he turns them into brick for his buildings in the death realm. So it hints at this, but there's plenty of other teasers. Like there's so many cards that actually tease stuff. So the next one, if we look at like the Trusty Adne, the Trusty Adne is a Vastaya, and we could say that possibly he is teasing Zyra Khan, maybe because they're the Vastaya in Ionia. It would be unlikely because we already have an Ionian champion, but it's not stopped Riot this year. Maybe we just skip some regions completely and Ionia gets revived from the dead and they get another champion this year. If we go to the other cards, the Dune Swallower, is that a Cho'Gath card possibly? Are we looking at a Bel'Veth teaser? Twisted was also saying Malzahar. If we look at the other cards, got the Kingfisher. Is that a Jarvan the Third? Is this a Xin-Zhao? Is this a Cythria card? Like, we're getting a champion Cythria? There's literally so many cards. It's like, okay, one of them is going to be right. We're looking at these going, okay, surely. Is it a dragon? Is it Mordekaiser? Is it Morgana? Is it Xin-Zhao? Is it the King? Is it Cythria? Is it Xayah? Is it Rakan? There's so many champions that it could possibly be. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, I feel like last time it was very clear that it was like, okay, yeah, this is either Janna and Volibear, or, you know, these teasers, they're just throwing them in there for fun and we have no idea what the third champion is. But right now, it could literally be anything, and I'm sure at least one or two of them are going to be correct. Like, to me personally, Morgana and I want to say Mordekaiser are the ones that make the most sense. But I kind of hope it's like Yorick or something. But I don't know, man. I just hope Shadow Isle gets some love because they kind of need it. Shadow Isle is more than just a removal pile.
Yeah, I really, really want it to be Xin-Zhao. I want the Demaster.
Why?
I want a Demaster. I want an elite. He's gonna be an elite unit. He has to work with J4.
This is so boring, man. Why not Silas, dude?
No, because if we're using this as the variety card, this isn't gonna be Silas. This will be Xin-Zhao. Oh, do you know what? I'll do a break. If this is Cythria, we'll agree on Cythria. We'll handshake on Cythria.
No, I'm not handshaking anything, man. I'm not handshaking for another elite deck. No, I'm not doing that.
Elites haven't been good for at least 6 months. Let's give us a card that does good.
For at least 6 months. I don't know, man. I mean, they're playable. I think, honestly, like, elites are in a good spot where they're kind of playable at, like, the higher levels, but they're very good for new players. I think that's exactly what you want from, like, a deck that teaches fundamentals, like, elites pretty well.
Yep. But yeah, lots of teasers this variety set. There's nothing that's, like, confirmed like last time where you said, like, we looked at them and we're like, okay, that's Janna. This card, we're looking at Divine Draft. That's Janna, Volibear teasers. The only one that we didn't know was Neela, which technically was the tidal invocation.
We could have known that, yeah.
We could have known it, but no one put the connections together.
Yeah.
Because that's the helmsman's weapon. That's why no one knew of the helmsman at the time.
Yeah, but there were 3 teasers in there technically, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was kind of a surprise when we saw them. But yeah, if we go on to the last bit now, which is the cosmetics, which we were very surprised to see. So, I will take credit. I get the patch notes early. And then the TFT did the reveal. And the Jhin skin got revealed. And I messaged this Gold Roy. And I said to him, it might be me, but that art for Jhin, the level 2, I was like, it was just that art. And I'm like, this definitely looks like an LOR skin.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, these are TFT exclusive skins. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, it definitely looks like an LOR skin.
And here they are.
I am adamant that these were LOR skins first, and then TFT were like, hey, we're also going to use the same assets so that the game doesn't have to spend so much money. Yeah. Because they don't use the others, they don't use any of the other splash arts, I don't think. They only use the level 2 skins.
They either use the level 1 or the level 2, right? Like I think for Bard, it's like the level 1. For Allow, it's level 1. For Jhin, it's the level 2. I mean, yeah, either way, I think it's super cool. I think it could easily be like a collaboration. I think Matt made a joke about like some collab with TFT, and he was like, no, I'd have to walk through at least like 3 hallways to get to the other side of the TFT department. And it's like clearly he knew, and they did have some kind of collab going on, and I think it's incredible that they're doing this, and I hope there's more to come.
Yes, I do like that these skins are available. I did a post on the LOR report last week. I believe, I want to say 17 skins we've had this expansion set, which is crazy. To think that we don't have many cosmetics in this game.
Yeah.
We are definitely on the low end of cosmetics for Riot Games. And the fact that we don't have boards anymore, we don't have Guardians, we don't have card backs apart from in the event pass. These were the first time that emotes have come back. You can buy those emotes individually in the store. and we got 5 skins. That's kind of good for this game.
It is. Yeah, no, I think it's a good sign, and I get unreasonably happy every time we see any kind of cosmetic. And I'm really glad that we're getting them like not just on expansion releases, and we're getting them like on variety and balanced patches as well. Like last time we got the Twisted Fate and Gangplank, the spooky skins. Now we get all this like Remix Rumble or whatever, like the music skins, and I am so insanely happy with it. I love skins. Obviously, like, you know, I'm a content creator, so I get to put them on thumbnails, so I get to appreciate them a little more than maybe most people. But yeah, no, I really, really think that these look gorgeous, and I hope there's more to come, because they're knocking it out of the park with these. So good.
Yes. I do want to mention as well, there was a couple of rumbles in Reddit. Apparently, there are some textures that were possibly data mined of boards or guardians possibly coming back. There's no credit to them. They were just like, hey, there was these new files that weren't here before.
Okay.
In the interview with Eric, he did say that the team were working on something. I don't know if it's going to be for this expansion. It would be cool though. The fact that we're going into Worlds, that we're going to have a new expansion for the end of the year, it would be nice. It's been over a year. I don't think it's a year and a half yet, but it's been over a year since the last board.
A year and 3 months or something?
Yeah, something like that. So it would be nice if we got the new one that came, or a new Surprise Guardian.
Yeah.
Maybe something to do with the champions, maybe. I just think if someone's found something, we'll possibly see new board cosmetics coming in maybe a few weeks, maybe a couple of months. I don't want to put my hopes too high, but I would like to see what they cook up.
With how long they've been gone, I think boards are gonna receive the same amount of hype as the new cards at this point. I think people will be so happy to see them come back. I'm really excited for it. But speaking of that new expansion, let's look at the calendar, shall we?
Yep, so busy month this month. I don't think the calendar has ever had so many slots for like official Riot stuff. So we'll start with the first thing, which is on the 18th, this Saturday. So this podcast is going out tomorrow or the day after?
It's coming out the 15th.
It's coming out on the 15th. So in 3 days' time from when you guys are listening to this, the Eternal Runeterra Open is taking place. It has been moved forward 1 week. That is because there is a last chance qualifier, which is taking place the week after. So, Eternal Runeterra Open, the last chance that you can get Runeterra points for this season, and not before Worlds, because technically you can include the ladder points. But it's the last Open that will give you Runeterra points. You can get a maximum of 12. There is a lot of people that are trying to qualify for Worlds. These are going to be very, very good Opens.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not ill because I'm supposed to be casting these. I'm going to be doing the co-streams with Biotac and possibly Hash. We'll see. I think these are going to be really fun. It's Eternal. Everyone's going to be having a laugh. So that is the first Open. A week afterwards, last chance qualifier. You're taking place in this one. Competitive Snnuy returns. And this is going to be on the standard format. And there is no Runeterra points. There's no prize pool. The top 2 players, so the 2 people that get to the final, will qualify for Worlds.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. That's all you want to do. If you're not if you're not in the top 2, you've got nothing. So you're aiming for the top 2.
Top 2 is all that matters. No Runeterra points, no nothing. It's just get a top finish.
Yeah, just literally. If you make it to the final, you might as well quit the final because like you don't have to play the game. Which I don't think they will. I have the feeling that when they get to the final, they might just go, it's not worth playing it. Because, like, you're not playing for anything. Like,
I mean,
sure.
We'll see, yeah.
The next thing after that is Riot has officially confirmed that the ladder cutoff is happening on the 27th of November at 12 a.m. PT. So that means that wherever you are on the leaderboard, that's where your Runeterra points earned are going to get cut. And then that gives Riot that entire week to find Runeterra points from the players, allocate them, finish up all of the scores. And then Worlds. We will have our Worlds points. Done. That's it then. No more Runeterra points, no more Worlds points. On the 29th, which is just after the thing, we then have the 2023 World Champion tiebreakers. So Aegis Esports will be holding a tiebreaker tournament for any players that have the same points. So just say there's 2 people that are in 6th with the same points. They'll go against each other in a good match, best of 3. Winner gets that 6th point. The other goes home empty-handed. So we'll see how that goes. If those actually take place, those will be intense. Because if you win that, you get money no matter what. Because when you're in Worlds, you immediately get money for being in Worlds. I think it's like a couple thousand straight away. It's a very important match. So if these happen, these are going to be very good to watch.
Okay.
But on the 28th, it's the big day.
My favorite. It's
Reveal
Christmas.
season returns.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll have the expansion name. So currently, I've just called it Unnamed Fates Voyage expansion because we know it's going to be a Fates Voyage.
Yeah.
But we don't know what the second half of it's called. But yeah. So reveal season start. That goes. Okay. Last time I did this, Riot trolled me. Riot trolled me hard. So it should be from the 28th up until 5th. And on the 5th, you should have the last champion reveal. And on the same day, you should get the patch notes. And then the next day, it's the expansion day. So it's gonna be a very good week.
So
especially go on.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that this might not be the case at all because last year all cards were revealed in one go because the players that go to Worlds will immediately have access, and to avoid leaks, they're just gonna release everything at once instead of having a release or spoiler week. So there is a chance that whenever it's clear who's going to Worlds, that 1 week before the expansion, we just get all the cards all at once.
So the only difference why I don't think that's going to happen this year is because that World's Champion slot was a week before. So they were doing it literally 2 days after the expansion.
Oh, you're right.
So
yeah.
I feel like Riot might say, look, you might have less time to prepare, but like we won't ruin the reveal season. Because I think the reveal season last time was a bit ruined.
Yeah.
Like it was cool that they did it because I think it was fair to all of the players. No one got spoiled. No one got an advantage and was like leaking cards. It was, look, this has happened. We kind of didn't prepare for it, I think. Releasing everything at once. But I definitely do think we're going to get a proper reveal season. So
yeah. Because
we'll
Worlds happened like a day after the expansion came out or something, right? So that's why they revealed everything 1 week ahead, because that's when people that were competing at Worlds got access to like a test client where they had all the new cards to prep a lineup, play with the new cards. But this time, the expansion comes out on the 6th of December, and World starts the 14th. So that is a week or 8 days later even. So yeah, that's a good point. That might mean that we get a reveal week and that the players just have to prepare for Worlds in those 8 days, which should be, usually that's more than enough time to settle on a lineup and try the new cards on ladder and see what everybody else is playing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as well because last year, for people that don't remember, there was a absolutely giga broken deck. No one found it until after the World Championships failed.
And I know what it is, yes. And I guarantee I would have found it because I love Ziggs.
So, for people that don't know, it was the... I can't even say the name.
Acolyte's Reliquary.
There we go. And it was insanely broken. It wasn't even close to fair, right? Hotfixed it, I'm fairly sure, like a couple days after people found it. It was insanely broken. It wasn't even close to playability. Yeah. Like, it was just crazy. How no one found this in the testing phase is beyond me. Because if they did, if someone secretly tested this and brought it to Worlds, they would have won. It wouldn't even
100%, yeah. So for context, this is right now, it's a 2-mana landmark that says, when I'm summoned, create a Ruinous Acolyte in hand. When you destroy me, create an Acolyte's Reliquary in the top 5 cards of your deck. So this is the 2-mana landmark. And it creates the 2-mana 2/1 that gets +1/+1, or gives Ruinous Acolytes +1/+1 everywhere for every landmark they destroyed. So you could play these from a spell that creates one of these in hand. You can main deck them as a unit, and you get them from the landmark. So you have 9 cards in total that give you access to it, but you also get this Acolyte's Reliquary landmark when it's destroyed in the top of your deck. These things grow so big so fast. I think on turn 5 or 6, they would be bigger than Aatrox. Guaranteed. And nobody found this deck. So you play this in like a Ziggs. It was basically like a fearsome deck because all these cards are fearsome and they grow huge. You couldn't compete with them. And then you have Ziggs as like a burn finisher. It was turbo busted. It was tier 0 and nobody found it for Worlds.
It was. I think this is the perfect deck of how you explain a snowball. What you do is you go, "Hey, I have one. This one turned to two. This turned to three," and it just grew and grew and grew. You're like, "Oh my god! You cannot stop this deck at all in any way."
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It was way too good, and yeah, nobody found it. So I agree with you. If even one player found this and kept it a secret, they would have won Worlds with it, 100%. This beat Red Gwen, this beat Aatrox, this beat Champion Strength deck, everything. This was played before Champion Strength every single time. I'm convinced this would have won Worlds. It countered to meta too.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see what's gonna happen this year. I definitely think that if a deck like that is found,
nobody's gonna say anything.
I mean, if it's found by the community, it will be said. But if someone playtests it, they're gonna go giga quiet with it because that. Yes, you can ban the deck, but then you have to play against the two other decks. And if you haven't prepared a lineup to like beat a certain other lineup, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to let them play that's good into me because I can't let them play that deck.
Yeah,
it'll ruin people's lineups and everything. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have a Chemtech Drake with the new cards.
Yeah.
But, for this entire month now, it's looking very, very good.
It's looking stacked. There's so much to do, and it starts in like a week from now, and then it's just gonna be nothing but content on content on content. So a lot to look forward to.
Yes, I also do want to say there's something that I'm working on. There is going to be a post from Riot within the next couple of days asking people to submit clips for something. I will advise people, if you have a face cam or if you've got a very good reaction to something, please send your clips to Riot. Just please do it. That's all I'm going to say. Just please do it.
All right, so keep an eye out for the LOR report Twitter. Is that
no. Main Legends of
Runeterra Twitter. Okay.
Play Runeterra Twitter. It's going to make a post. They're going to ask people to submit stuff in a Google Forms or like a Forms thing. Just send your good clips there. If you've got any highlights that you've had in Runeterra over the year, send it over. It'll be worth it.
I've been practicing my POC phase, and this is my moment.
Got that YouTube thumbnail face.
Exactly. And everybody gets to practice theirs for this moment, I suppose.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, look out for the tweet when it goes out.
All right, awesome. I think that's everything that we wanted to cover. We covered cosmetics, bugs. Yeah,
that's everything.
All right, cool. Well, in that case, we're going to be back in exactly 4 weeks from now, which should be the 13th of December, right?
Yes.
Which is one day before Worlds.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of excited for that. I realized that today when I was looking at it. We basically get to look at all of the cards and go, okay, what's going to do good at Worlds? Because the next day that the podcast comes out,
this is going to be an extra long episode, because there's going to be a lot to talk about for that one, more than the rest of the year for sure. So,
100%. And I've booked off time from work, so I have that Thursday, Friday, Saturday off. I think I'm helping Aegis out with something. I don't know if I can say anything yet, but I am helping them out with something. So LOR report will be active. We'll be covering the Worlds. We'll be doing interviews, hopefully. It's going to go very well. Yeah,
so that is definitely, if you're looking out for these podcasts, that one is going to be the podcast to look forward to, because that's going to be the recap of the entire year almost, is what we could do. Plus Worlds, plus new expansion. So that's where all the good stuff is. But for now, I think we're going to call it here and head out. And we'll see you all in 4 weeks for the episode 5 of the Runeterra Podcast.
Yes, thank you for watching, guys. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.